Welcome to the Align Podcast. I am very excited to be here again with my co-host Lee to bring you everything you need in terms of personal development to really help you shape and change your life. Lee.
Hello.
If you're not watching on YouTube or you haven't subscribed to YouTube, please go ahead, subscribe to the YouTube channel because it just gives you a different perspective. And today it's going to give you a very brilliant perspective on Lee, who has decided, regardless of the discomfort that he's in, he's going to come to the studio and do his best Quasimodo impersonation. Lee, how you doing, mate?
I am mentally, emotionally, and spiritually great, and I'm physically fucked. I've torn my trap in the gym somehow, and I'm very robotic at the moment, so I can't turn my head very well, but we're here, and we're going to talk about planning your day and planning your week, and I'm super excited about this episode.
I'm really excited about this episode, and what's really interesting, I did a coaching call I'm taking some people through a 6-week accelerator at the moment, and we spoke about rigidity in planning last night and also flexibility in planning.
Yes.
Which is going to be brilliant because today is demonstrating both those for both of us, because you've got to have some flexibility in what you're doing because obviously you're in discomfort, and it would be interesting to talk about how that's changed. And like we discussed today, I've had to change plans around because I've got a dog who's not well, I've got a wife who needs some stuff doing, and it just shows that the importance of planning is key, but having some flexibility in that planning is also essential. I was on a call with my coach last week, and one of the references he gave to this, because it's interesting, we were speaking about this as well. It's amazing how you teach what comes up in your life. You can either plan and be rigid like iron, or you can plan and be rigid like aluminium.
Yes.
And one will give and flex a little bit more to help cope with it. So planning the week is something that we both do. It's something that I meticulously plan on a Sunday night to make sure that I'm set up for the week ahead. Is it something that you do every week or every day, or how do you choose to plan?
Yes. So I do daily and weekly. So on a Sunday, I'll plan out what I want to get done for the week, and then daily I will do a variation of the power list that Andy Frisella teaches. So I know that you do physical notebook planning. I use an app called Todoist, and it allows me to organize things by project and by task. So because of what we do at Blitz, I'm basically running the online business for multiple businesses. So when I plan my week, I have to plan as if I'm planning for multiple businesses and practices. So originally I used to try and get lots of these large tasks. A lot of my tasks are really large. So filming, for example, sometimes I have to travel to Buckingham or Brighton or wherever. So that's obviously a massive task. So if I wanted to do 5 filming tasks in a day, there's just no way I could do it. So I've recently restructured in a way where I have a filming task, an editing task, a scheduling task, an admin task, and I split those and I take one from each sector, and then I spread those out through my day. So yes, I plan the whole week ahead of time, and then each day I put in 5 tasks and I attack them each day. I
think it's a really good way of doing it, and I think oftentimes when people get caught in the task making, something that came up in this coaching last night, they lose sometimes sight of the long-term vision and aim.
Yes.
So just before we came in here, we had a quick look at your vision board, which is sick, by the way.
Thank you.
So sick. I can't wait to do our first podcast from the jet.
Yeah.
But having that bigger vision and then taking that big vision predictably into your tasks, and I would teach people to go, annual goals, quarterly goals, monthly, and then your weekly.
Yeah.
So you're and that's where Andy said his playlist comes in, a power list.
Yeah. I
call it a playlist, just to spin on it, whereby some tasks each day are moving you forward.
Yeah.
So for people who don't understand that, can you explain the difference between a to-do list, which just never ends, and a power list or a playlist, as someone would call it?
Yeah. So the power list or playlist is critical tasks that are going to move your brand and your business forward. So like major tasks, and to-do lists are overwhelming. If I was to write down a to-do list, it would be never ending.
Yeah.
I could write down tasks forever. There's just so many tasks that I've got to do, and they just continue to keep coming. But those powerless tasks are really the major critical tasks. So on your playlist, do you have business tasks and personal tasks?
Yeah, so I find it's really important. I will always prioritize self first.
Yeah.
And I've got better at prioritizing family. So what I do now is every day has to have something that develops self, develops relationship, and business. So it has to have those three components.
Yeah.
So we talked earlier about that structure of discipline of planning a week, but also the balance to be able to adapt should things come up. I will put times in my day which are simply an hour or a couple of hours that are family. Now, some days those are really difficult. Like yesterday, started at 4:30 a.m. and finished at 10 o'clock last night, and I had literally 20 minutes with Sarah. That was it. It was an intense day, but they're rare.
Yeah.
They're also planned for on the Sunday. So Sunday is like, I sit down with Sarah, who is my wife, and we sit down and we go, what's this week looking like? Where do you need help? And also, when am I going to see you? And I'm like, Tuesday ain't going to happen. Thursday, I'm literally not going to see you because we leave at 4:30 and then I'm off to London for 2 days. But there's that agreement. And then Sunday it will have one little thing of business in there and gym, but then the majority of it will just be the day with Sarah, and that is pursuing and moving my relationship forwards. So in answer to your question, the three things that must come up each day are business, personal, and relationship. And I find so many people put business first. And I think we may have covered this before, and you ask anyone who's successful, they say, what should I invest in? And the number one thing you should be investing in is themselves. So I think it's really important. And I see you do this with your routines. And like the other day, you came into the practice to film the other day, and I said, I think you should have just a warm shower, Lee. And you're like, no, I can't take a day after cold showers.
Yeah.
But that's part of your routine. That's part of your healthy habits.
Yeah.
Which is cool, and it's ingrained.
That's probably why I'm suffering today. But so again, with the flexibility, if you're looking to start planning your week, it doesn't necessarily have to be the way that Tom does it or the way that I do it. So the way I do it is different to the way that you do it.
Yeah.
My days generally don't take me away for evenings and things like that, unless we're away in another country filming an event for you. But I'll usually be home in the evening. So my daily planning is almost all business.
Yes.
But I have these habits and routines in place that give me the time to do things for myself. And so
But your
totally
business is
true.
structured within time frames, isn't it?
I do plan out, and I have a list, and I check it off, and I'll probably on YouTube I'll put a screen share of the app that I use and how it's laid out, so you can see this. But my morning routine has all subtasks in it, so it's all listed down everything, and I tick it off as I go through my morning routine. Yeah. And then, but apart from that, everything else is pretty much business.
Yes. But that's good because you have your routines and habits already in place. So if, like this book, if people see on YouTube, I'm flicking through it, has my complete week in. Yeah. And every day starts with self-care. But that's my morning routine that would always happen within that. And then whether I'm going to work or whether I'm going to the gym, and then tasks for work and business. And people ask, like, how do some people successful and some people not? It's simply because they just do tasks that move them forwards every single day. Yeah. It's simple things. I used to hate, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I used to hate planning. Like, I really hated planning because I thought, I've got no spontaneity here. I can't live my life. I can't do what I want to do. And actually, you can't fucking do what you want to do unless you actually do something with your life. Yeah. And that discipline creates the freedom. Like you, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to do my stuff. I'm going to do my business stuff. And then I have the evening freedom.
That's how it works.
I used to hate discipline, but now I see the freedom in it. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so like Jocko, who we both like, he says discipline equals freedom, and it is true. And I'm the same. I never used to plan so meticulously. I would always sort of know what I had to do, but it's totally different when you've got it down physically in front of you, whether that's on an app or physically in a notebook. It's just different. It just shows you exactly what's coming up, and it takes away the thought process out of it. If you know what you're doing on that day, and you know that on Friday you're doing X, you're not going to be on Wednesday thinking, shit, I need to get this done, I've got to get this done. You know that it's coming up. You've got it coming up on Thursday or Friday, so you can remove that from your mind and focus on the task at hand.
And I agree with that. And also what's interesting is to have somewhere where you write your stuff. I use tech and I use a book. But if something has to roll over, you write it to roll over. If something comes up, you've written it down.
Yeah.
So you're never thinking, what is it that I've got to do? Like, what's next?
Yeah.
You know what's next. You can go to it and it just gets done. And I think what's interesting in that as well is having the discipline and the planning to set a time frame for certain tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Like something that I do, and it's really interesting. I was listening to a great podcast with Ed Milet who's talking about it. Most people set an hour for a call.
Mm-hmm.
But why do we set an hour for a call?
Yeah.
Like, if it takes like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I always say this. I say this to Law. She works for Anglian Water, and they have hours and hours long meetings. And I think she hates me when I always say it. I'm like, these could be done in 15 minutes.
Dude, I used to be vice president of the national board for the Chiropractic Association, and I've been on boards for like governors and stuff before. Dude, you sit around this table for a day, for something that could have been done in literally an hour, because everybody wants to say their piece, and it's like, are you just saying what that guy said, and your ego's just filling the fucking room. It just does my head in. Yeah. So I think setting times for your tasks is really key. So if you've got a project that needs doing, a piece of work that needs doing, don't go, I'm going to do that today, because it will take you the whole day to do that. Yeah. Whereas if you say, I've got 90 minutes to complete that task, or I've got half an hour to complete that task, it will get done in that time.
Yeah. The effects that planning has on your mental health, I like to see my mind as, well, I relate it to tech with like a lot of things. And in a laptop, for example, you have your hard drive and you have your RAM. Yeah. And the more apps.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So the hard drive is where you store things.
Yes.
And then the RAM is the operating system memory. So the more free RAM you've got, the faster the laptop.
Yeah.
So by storing things in your head all the time, if you don't write things down and you don't plan things, you're filling up that RAM. Whereas I like to see my app or your book as the hard drive. So everything that you've got in your mind, and I do brain dumps for this. So everything that I've got in my mind on a weekly basis, I will brain dump out. And I use written paper for this. I use the book that you got me for Christmas, actually. And by brain dumping down, you're putting it on the hard drive storage and then freeing up the RAM. You know, like on your phone, if you've got all your apps open, how slow does your phone slows down massively. Yeah. And so many people I speak to, and they're like, oh, my phone slowed down. And I say, show me how many apps you've got open. And usually it's about 20 to 30 apps.
I literally love what you say there, because I see it happen to myself so much. One thing I wrote down there is that writing is the doing part of thinking. I was taught that by a coach once, and it's amazing. Like, if you write what you're thinking, it really builds that thought into something greater. But every time I get stressed or worked up and Sarah's like, what's going on? I'm like, my mind is full. I literally can't. Where am I going? What's going on? Yeah. I need to go and do one of those brain dumps. I literally go upstairs, my whiteboard, and I wipe it clear. I take a fresh page of my paper and go, where am I at? What needs to happen next? And then I'm literally instantly clear.
Yeah, it does. It's amazing.
It's such a great way of focusing both energy, focusing both mind, and helping one move forward. So I think there's so much benefit to planning, and I think first it comes up from understanding where you want to go, taking control of your life, like it's up to you where you want it to go, and then planning it. Yeah. And people say, oh, you're worried I'll miss out on things, I'm worried I'll miss out on this and that. It's really interesting. I had a patient come in yesterday and she looked wiped. I was like, what's going on? She said, oh, yesterday I was just checking in on all my friends and what they're saying and what's going on in their lives. And I said to her in a split, literally as soon as she said that, I said, that's the reason I don't have any friends. Because it's a distraction from your life. Yeah. You think it might be fulfilling your life, but her friend, look what it's done to her. Like, she's drained
when they're
from
unloading all their problems onto you and you're absorbing all that.
It's literally like 3 people I speak to, one of them's in this room.
Yeah.
It's literally a joke. But my mind is clear from that, and I plan, I move in the direction, in the way that I want to go, and I feel fantastic from it.
Yeah. So planning also is a level of accountability. Mm-hmm. So if you've not got people around you, say you're a solo entrepreneur and there's only you on the team and you don't have other people that you've got to, like so many people say to me, I couldn't work for myself, I wouldn't be able to stay motivated. Well, when you make that list and that weekly plan and you've got all those tasks that you know need to get done to progress you forward, it holds you accountable to yourself because it's written down. It is so much easier to sit and watch Netflix and do fuck all for the day if you've not got it written down, because you can just think, I'll just do it tomorrow.
It's so true, and that's why people can run multiple. You run multiple projects within your business.
Yeah.
I run a couple of, not huge, but a couple of businesses. But the one outside of my practice is all solo, and having to have that written down keeps me accountable to doing the tasks involved with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we do need, there's a couple of ways I think one should get accountability. A is to plan and write down, but also, like I just said in the previous point, surround yourself by people who are actually on that path, who want to move forward in that trajectory.
Yeah, that's massive.
Not people who are just putting you back. And I know that's something that you've done in your life recently. I certainly did a few years ago, and it makes a difference. Yeah,
you do have to reprioritize and decide what's important and where you're going, and if the people around you are helping you get there. So massively, yeah. So how do you prioritize? So there's being efficient, and then there's being effective.
Yes.
So how do you prioritize what needs to be done that day?
So that's done in strategic planning, in annual, quarter, monthly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's thinking about what's my main priority for this period of time, and also what season am I in this period of time. Seasons meaning, am I in the hustle season of getting something going?
Mm-hmm.
Am I in the season of enjoying the fruits of labour?
Yeah.
And the differences of those would be, if I'm in the season of getting something going, although I've got to do those 3 tasks each day, health, family, business, I may find that in the period of time where I'm creating something, family still happens, but to a lesser extent.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm in the season of enjoying the fruits of labour, business may happen to a lesser extent.
Yeah.
And that nuance is played out depending on where I am in project growth. But in terms of priorities, it's simply, what's the goal that I'm trying to create? And instead of taking a priority looking forwards, the best way to take a priority is actually to work back. So Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind. If you've got the end goal, let's say that's a 3-month out projection, what needs to be completed each month to get there? Within each of those months, what needs to be completed within each week? And then you can break it down to each day. And I think unless you do that, you are a little bit blind in how you're moving forward with your project.
And still a little bit too reactive, probably.
100%
rather than being proactive and actually working towards your own goal.
And that's you see that's why people get stuck and never move forward, is because they are in constant reaction.
Yeah.
They're like, I've got a business going, I'm so busy, I just keep... And like at the end of the year, they're still making the same money they made last year. You see it in the gym. People are reactive because they're reacting to the fact that they've got their gym dialed down, but their lifestyle outside is shit, and they're still eating crap, and they're reacting to that every time they go into the gym. So you see that happen in every facet of life. And that's, again, why planning is so important, to be able to move you forwards.
Yeah, agreed. So I was going to go into like tips for getting past procrastination. But I think it encompasses the whole reason for planning, and we'll probably round it off here, because it's all about your why, I think, for me. So I used to procrastinate when I wasn't so clear on my why and my actual goals. But once I really dialed in why I was doing it and what I was doing, it made it much easier for me to move forward and be productive rather than procrastinate on things. And I'm a productive procrastinator. So I'll tidy and clean and do everything else that needs doing other than the actual tasks that's going to move me forward if I do procrastinate, which doesn't happen that much anymore. But how important is the why for someone who's just getting started?
it's hugely important, because with everything that you want to take on in life, there's risk.
Mm.
And if you're going to take on some level of risk, you've got to have a reason for taking on that risk. So having a why is key. And the why is really like, why do you want to put yourself in discomfort, in harm's way, change something to move forward? Now, for some people, that might be because they are living a life that is just horrendously painful for them. For others, it might be because they just want these amazing, great things in life. And I think our why does change. But I think one of the great tools to overcome procrastination really is in the planning and building in reward or the time you enjoy into your planning.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if I plan to have 2 hours free time or walk or dinner, then I can't procrastinate into the evening, because I've got to get that task done to allow myself that time.
Yeah, you're really good at that. You're really good at giving yourself time, like you and Sarah go away for your weekends and you just go and do your walking and the time that you love. And I know that you spend them times planning as well sometimes, but you have these rewards. You're much better at that than me.
Well, it's interesting because I literally just we just booked a couple of really nice hotels. We got a week off, and we always book like the nicest places. But just before this week, I was like, so we're going to allow ourselves 2 hours work a day, because neither of us can actually stop.
Yeah.
But there's planning in that. So in a week off, we're like, cool. Give ourselves grace to just maybe have an hour or two a day, just get some stuff done.
Yeah.
And then we can chill. It just once you've done it so often, it just becomes who you are.
Yeah, but only focusing on work and the future or planning or whatever it is that you do for only 2 hours a day is basically a day off.
It is.
When
basically
you're so
off.
focused on it for however many hours normally.
But also, like, when you get your planning right, and like you and I, and if people really take this on board today and become productive, I reckon I could do more in 2 hours than most people do in 2 days. As long as you've got the planning right and you've prioritized the task that's going to move you forwards, you can leapfrog your way down the road because you've set out an intention and plan on that.
Yeah. So if you're just getting started, maybe start with 3 critical tasks a day. Don't necessarily have to go with 5 and just absolutely go crazy. Get yourself some sort of structure to the way that you plan your day and your week. So try the things that we've mentioned in this podcast. Whether you do that with an app. The app that I use, again, is called Todoist. It is paid, the one that I get, because I use it very much, but it's very cheap. It's like 20 quid a year or something like that. Or get a physical notebook. I use both for different things. So shall we leave this episode there?
Yeah, and I think if you got something from this, please subscribe.
Yep.
Please share this with people. Make sure you check out the YouTube if you're listening on podcast. If you're on the podcast, if you're on YouTube, get back over to the podcast.
Yep.
And make sure you share it with your friends, because we know that what we're doing here, we really want to influence and change many, many lives. The Align podcast is really going to change the game for people. So share it and enjoy.